Hi lovely viewers. The Love Gambit is here with another informative dating advice video. Today, we are going to be talking about 20 effective first date tips for men. If you'd like to learn more about how you can use this information to help your relationship, then feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the little subscribe button below, and make sure that you click the bell icon that's right beside it so you can receive notifications every single time I release a new video. Yay! Congratulations on taking this bold step. Let's face the fact, most men feel a mixture of excitement and nervousness when they consider going on a first date. There are perhaps a few times that people desire to make an impression as much as they do on a first date. While there is no way to remove all of the fears that go with first dates, there are some simple ways to make the experience less stressful and more enjoyable. Below are carefully selected 20 first date tips for men. Keep in mind that the first date is usually the discovery period. In other words, it is the time when you learn more things about the other person. Aside from that, you should also open up about yourself, so that your date would also know more about you. This is the time to see if you would really be good together or not. Before we dive into our 20 first date tips, first of all, it is wiser and important to be careful about who you choose to go on a first date with. Everyone agrees that the purpose of dating is to get to know someone, so while you do not have to know a lot about a person before taking them on a first date, it is helpful to at least know something about the person you will be sharing the date with. If you do not know them personally, be sure that one of your friends or family members knows that person at least a little. You will save yourself time, energy, and perhaps disappointment by choosing wisely who you will share the first date with. Below are 20 first date tips for men that will guarantee you a second date or a successful relationship. Tip number 1, shave your face. Despite the fact that not all women adore their men to have shaved faces, it's really still safer to go on a first date with a clean face. This is because a woman may think that you are untidy or have the tendency to be violent if you won't have a clean face on the first date. Aside from that, some women actually have bisexual tendencies, and they just love looking at a soft face. Tip number 2, don't forget to smile. Smiling wouldn't just make you really feel better, but it can also make her more comfortable being with you. A smile would encourage a more positive atmosphere between the two of you. With that, you can soon share funny stories and jokes, which would make your first date more enjoyable. Tip number 3, impress your first date with your voice. Always remember that women do not want men that sound immature, which is usually the case if the person's voice has a high tone. Thus, you should try to use a deep voice on your first date, so that you can impress your girl. If it cracks, then you need to practice it until you become more accustomed to keeping it low. Tip number 4, do not talk about topics that can make her uncomfortable. When you are on a first date with a lady you really like, focus more on light topics when you talk to her. Don't talk about sex since it can make her uncomfortable. Aside from that, you should also avoid very serious topics, since you want to establish an atmosphere between the two of you that is more relaxed and friendly. Tip number 5, never forget her first name. On your first date, you have to keep in mind that women are very sensitive, even when it comes to their names. Thus, you should not forget her first name. Aside from that, you should use her first name whenever you can during your conversation, and say it in a sweet tone, so that she can feel that you are sincere and that you care. Tip number 6, avoid anything that can have a negative impression. When you are on your way to your first date, you should avoid anything that can cause your mood to become bad. For example, if you know that you would be going through heavy traffic, then you should leave your place earlier. You don't want to start your date in a bad mood, since the other person can feel it, and you may make the atmosphere negative as well. Tip number 7, where to take her on your first date. It is quite a usual thing to bring your first date to a fancy restaurant, and this is actually not a bad idea. However, if you know that she prefers to do something different, then you should come up with a different way of impressing her. For example, if she is into sports, then you can take her to a sporting event, such as volleyball, basketball, or baseball, just before you head to a place for dinner. Tip number 8, dress appropriately. When it comes to the clothes that you want to wear on your first date, you have to consider the place that you are going to. For example, if you are taking her to an expensive restaurant, then you may want to wear something formal for it, but do not go over the top. On the other hand, if she wants to go and play bowling, then you should wear something that is comfortable. Tip number 9, know her before going out with her. Prior to your first date, it is very possible that you have already spent a few minutes talking to the woman that you are going out with. You should take that as an opportunity to learn things about her, which would help you decide on where to take her to. For instance, if she loves animals, then you may want to take her to a zoo, an aquarium, and such. Tip number 10. Use non-smelling deodorants. It is a complete turn-off to a woman you are dating if you start to smell. Always remember that you can get nervous on your first date, and it can get you perspiring fast. Thus, you need to make use of a good deodorant, so that she won't be able to smell your sweat. You can also use a mild perfume if you want to, or an aftershave. Tip number 11. Recognize the difference in thinking between man and woman. When you are dating a woman that you really like, you have to recognize the fact that men and women have differences in the way they think. Women usually want their dates to make emotional or friendship sense, for them to become more interested. Thus, you should ensure that she would see the side of you that she likes, such as a person who is understanding, discreet, and also humorous. Tip number 12. Be a shoulder that she can lean on. In dating the woman of your dreams for the first time, you should show her that you are like a shoulder that she can lean on anytime she wants. Women need their men to be strong, confident, and someone who knows what to do in different situations. Thus, do not be a crybaby, and show her that you have emotional strength. Tip number 13. Do not forget that women like to talk. Most women like to talk, even those who seem to be the silent type. With that, if you want your date to have a good time and at the same time, get to know her better, then you should let her talk and listen attentively. To get her started, all you have to do is to ask the right questions, and make sure that they cannot be answered by a simple yes or no. Tip number 14. Make her trust you. In order to let a woman open up to you, you need to show her that you can be trusted. Trusting someone is not easy for most women, since they usually get hurt easily. Thus, you need to work on earning her trust, and you should start on it even on the very first time that you go out with her. Tip number 15. Do not touch your date without considering if she likes it or not. You have to learn to read signals that would tell you whether a woman wants to be touched or not. If she is leaning towards you, and touching you lightly, then it means that you can reciprocate. It is very important that she shows signs that she wants to be touched before initiating it so that you won't spoil everything. Tip number 16. Dating is fun, but it requires effort. You have to invest effort, especially on your first date, so that you would be able to make it a fun activity. Aside from that, it would also give you a chance to learn more things about her. Through your first date, you would already be able to get an idea of whether she is worth investing more of your time and efforts on. Tip number 17. Be the one to pay for the date. Even if your first date was not really planned, or it happened spontaneously, you as the man, should always be the one to pay for it. Keep in mind that lots of women today may be willing to pay for dinner or something. To impress her, you should be able to reach into your pocket first, and take care of all the expenses on your date. Tip number 18. Soft touches. If your date gives out signals that she wants to be touched, then you should remember that women usually love soft touches. You may be able to get a chance to do this while you are talking pretty close to each other, or when you are dancing. Touch her softly, so that she can feel how you admire her. Tip 19. Keep it mysterious. Lots of women love to date mysterious men since it sparks their curiosity, which excites them more. Thus, on your first date, it is a good idea to give out some details about yourself, but do not reveal everything. Aside from sparking their curiosity, it would also make them want to learn more about you, which would increase their chances for a second date. And last but not least, tip number 20, don't overdo being polite. Although lots of women would appreciate it when you open up doors for them, it is best not to overdo it. Opening up the door to the restaurant for your date would surely impress her. However, if you overdo it by opening every door that you come across within strolling in the mall, then she may think that you are treating her like a helpless girl. That marks the end of our 20 first date tips for men. Remember that the first date is not all about you. Start right from the beginning by showing genuine interest in her. Women love it when men ask great questions and seem to genuinely care about their life. If you have trouble thinking of questions off the top of your head, perhaps it would be wise for you to think of a few good questions before you head off on your date. Do whatever it takes to show the person you are with that you care enough to ask them questions. I hope you enjoyed our carefully selected first date tips for men. Always remember, you can never know if you will really enjoy the person you are with or if you will feel comfortable with them until you get into the first date, so make sure that you have given yourself good boundaries for your date. Put a time limit on the date right from the beginning so that you know when the end is near. This is especially helpful if the first date turns out to be less than ideal, which, unfortunately, happens more than you might think. As always, we appreciate those of you that take the time to like our videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also I'm interested in hearing your feedback, so go ahead and leave me a message below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care, and good luck.